Tonight, the CBN News sit-down with President Donald Trump.
Well, I can tell you what it means for your religion.
The president's big pitch to evangelical Christian voters.
If you have a radical left group of judges, religion will be almost wiped out in America.
Why the commander-in-chief says to stick with him over his Democratic challenger, Joe Biden.
Joe is shot.
And we ask about that remark made in Tulsa this weekend.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
But just to clear up, there wasn't a direct order, if you will, to staff to stop the testing.
No.
Plus,
Treason.
That's what I was gonna ask.
It's treason. Look.
the president tells CBN News former President Obama betrayed the country.
Treason.
And
I was surprised.
President Trump's take on his own Supreme Court justice picks.
We've had a lot of losses with a court that was supposed to be in our favor.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. President Trump courts evangelicals. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder. Today, the president sat down with CBN News for a wide-ranging interview. He knows evangelical voters could make or break his re-election this November, and he's making his pitch. Tonight, why Trump says he's ready to take on Joe Biden in the race for the White House. And after a less than sold-out attendance at his weekend's rally in Tulsa, Trump on damage control. What he has to say about some of the criticism he's receiving for his comments on the coronavirus pandemic and testing. CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, conducted the interview with the president outside the Oval Office.
President Trump, great to see you again, sir.
Thank you very much, David.
Where do I even begin? Let's start with Joe Biden. If Joe Biden gets elected president of the United States, what does that mean for America exactly?
Well, I can tell you what it means for your religion. It means choice. It means that you're going to put a radical lefty on the court, and that's going to be the end of pro-life. It won't even have a chance. So that's what it means. Nobody's been more pro, as you know, you've heard it many times. I think you might have said it yourself, but nobody has been more pro-life as president than I have. I even went to the recent, they had a fantastic thing 3 blocks away in the park, and I went to it, and I'm the first president that ever went to it. A celebration of the victories that
the
we've
March for
all
Life,
had.
yeah.
Between Mexico City, you know what Mexico City is very well, but a lot of your viewers might not, but nobody since Ronald Reagan, and even he was light. His was Mexico City light. Mine is Mexico City strong. You know, if Biden gets in, he's not going to do, because Joe is shot. Somebody, whoever's going to be running the party, is going to put radical left judges on the Supreme Court and all over the court system. And everything we do, I think I'll have close to 300 judges by the time I finish my first term. Hopefully a lot more than that, but it's a record number. And we have pro-life, these are pro-life judges. So, and you look at the Supreme Court, they're pro-life. So we'll see what happens. We will, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win maybe big, because we've done a job like nobody else. You know, we were sailing, and then we got hit with the Chinese virus. But we were sailing. We were so far up, and we were doing very well. And then all of a sudden, it was an artificial situation that happened to us, and we had to turn it off. We had to turn off the economy. We did the right thing. We saved millions of lives, and now we're turning it back on, and we're doing record business. We're doing record jobs. As you know, were announced last week. We have record retail sales was announced last week. And I think it's going to be a V-shape. A lot of people disagreed with me. Now they're all agreeing with me. But we're doing well. But in terms of religion, in terms of evangelical, in terms of Christians with or without evangelical, in terms of Jewish, in terms of anything, you're going to have radical left judges appointed. And if you're in favor of pro-life, you can forget it. What do you think of what happened with Neil Gorsuch in the 6-3 decision with the LGBT civil rights? That was a shock to a lot of folks. I was surprised. Some people felt that it was a decision that they weren't as surprised as I was. Yeah, I was surprised. And John Roberts, what do you make? I mean, is he the new Anthony Kennedy or potentially worse? Well, so far we're not doing too well. It says, look, we've had a lot of losses. Yeah. With a court that was supposed to be in our favor. This is just to show what it means. We need, you'll probably have a couple of more judges in the next 4 years. It could even be more than that. It could be 3 or 4. If you have a radical left group of judges, religion, I think, will be almost wiped out in America, and pro-choice will be gone. Pro-choice, rather, will be fine. But if you look at it, pro-life will be absolutely wiped out. So if you have that happening, pro-life is going to be out. It's going to be gone.
What do you make of the state of the race right now? We've seen polls, even some friendly polls, showing you behind. Do you buy any of that?
I don't, because I see so much enthusiasm right now. I see so much enthusiasm, and a lot of it, in terms of what you're talking about, has to do with the whole pro-life movement. A lot of it has to do with that. But I think we're doing much better than we did in 16, and I think there's actually more enthusiasm than there is in 16.
Why do you think that?
I just think it. I think that I feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it. Now, we got hit with this horrible pandemic, but we've done a great job. We came up with testing. Frankly, we test so much that it's almost unfair. When they say cases, we're 25 million tests, and other countries are barely even testing. So one shows that we have more cases, but a lot of them are a lot of them are things that we find. We find things to feed to the press, because I'm a big fan of testing, but we are at a level that nobody's ever even imagined before, 25 million. We're 20 million higher, approximately, than the next highest nation. So if you're at 20 million higher, you're going to find more cases, and then they're going to report, oh, there's more cases. But in the end, we're doing the right thing.
At the Tulsa rally, when the media is hitting you on that, where you said, I told my staff, stop the testing. They're saying, was that tongue-in-cheek or?
No, it's semi-tongue-in-cheek. I say it all the time. I know some people thought it was tongue-in-cheek. It's unfair. We're doing so much testing, so much more than any other country, and to be honest with you, when you do more testing, you find more cases. And then they report our cases are through the roof. But other countries, many countries, don't even test with real quality outside of people that are very sick. So we go out and we test 25 million people, which is a lot. You never thought that was even possible. Most people didn't. And we could go up a lot higher than that, and I guess we are. But I tell my people it's a double-edged sword, because we do so much testing. And again, we have kids with sniffles, and all of a sudden we report a case, and they're in no danger whatsoever. If you look at the numbers, below 18, very few people are affected. The governor of New Jersey, who's a very good guy, but very liberal, that's okay.
Right.
He was telling me thousands of deaths, and they only had one under 18. Think of it. One young person who died under the age of 18, with thousands of deaths. So that tells you their immune system or something is doing well. And the one person did have a medical problem.
But just to clear up, there wasn't a direct order, if you will, to staff to stop the testing.
No,
Okay.
but I think we put ourselves at a disadvantage. I told my people. I said, we've gotten so good at testing. Number one, we have the best tests. Number two, we have the most tests. We test much more than any other nation. So you hear about all these cases. So instead of doing 25 million tests, let's say we did 10 million tests, we'd look like we're doing much better, because we'd have far fewer cases. You understand that? I wouldn't do that, but I will say this. We do so much more than other countries. It makes us, in a way, look bad, but actually we're doing the right thing.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court gave Trump a stinging defeat last week with its decision to preserve DACA, an Obama-era program he tried to kill. But today, victory for Trump. The justices refusing to take up a case challenging the 25% tariffs he slapped on steel imports. Steel importers wanted the high court to rule that unconstitutional, but the court let the president's power to impose such tariffs stand. And that is about all the Supreme Court announced today. A big surprise, with 14 rulings still to come down this term and only about 2 more weeks to go. Our court watcher Paul Strand joins us now. Paul, that is not a lot of time.
That is not a lot of time. And here's what usually goes on. Usually the court tries to wrap it up before the 4th of July weekend because, you know, just like most Americans, they like to go take a nice vacation. But here's the other thing. Often these guys, they teach in the summertime, summer courses, or they have speaking engagements. And these things have maybe been lined up months ago. So if they don't get off by the 4th of July, if they're not done with the term, that could, you know, kind of mess all these people up that are waiting to see them. And then they may have vacations, prepaid stuff like the rest of us might. So in other words, it can affect their pocketbooks if they don't get out. But I do understand that a few years ago, maybe more than a dozen or so, they did actually go past this 4th of July weekend thing. So maybe they're just going to have to do that. What we have to remember is that they got thrown off 2 months by the pandemic. So in other words, can they really get all these cases ruled on and decided? I don't think that they're just, you know, messing around with us. I think they may be actually trying to catch up with the 2 months they lost.
Yeah. Paul, of these 14 cases that still have yet to be ruled on, are you watching on any in particular?
Yeah, right now the one that most interests me is the Louisiana abortion case, and that is involves where they passed a law in Louisiana saying that abortion doctors had to have admitting privileges to a local hospital in case something goes wrong with one of their patients. And the thing is that this court already ruled on a case that was very similar in Texas and went against Texas having that law. But now there's supposedly a majority conservative court. So we may see things change. And also they could use this as a chance to really look at Roe v. Wade. In other words, you know, is it safe? Like, here's the question of, should doctors have admitting privileges in case something goes wrong with one of their patients? That calls into question the whole thing about how safe is abortion. So this case could have wide implications. Or they could just say, nah, just like Texas, we don't like this law, and there it goes.
For our audience at home, I think a lot of people are wondering if there are any cases of these 14 that involve religious liberty, Paul.
Yeah, a couple of them. One involves 2 Catholic schools. They both got rid of teachers who were who were 5th grade teachers. And the thing is that so you know, people could be covered under the civil rights laws for employment discrimination, but there's a thing called the ministerial exception. Anyone who has anything to do with the teaching of the religion who passes it on to the younger generation, like teachers would in a Catholic school, for instance, then they're covered under this thing called the ministerial exception, which is supposed to keep government out of the hiring and firing of people who pass on the faith. So that's probably what's going to cover it. Another very interesting case involves the Little Sisters of the Poor, and they were they've had these cases where the federal government finally said, okay, you don't have to cover abortion-causing contraceptives for your employees, but now the states have come against the federal government and said, yes, you do have to do this. And if this goes against the Little Sisters of the Poor, they would have fines that amount to about $70 to $75 million a year. So it really matters, and it's also a big religious liberty case.
All right, CBN senior Washington correspondent Paul Strand watching the courts for us. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
And coming up, the president takes on John Bolton after a court ruling gives the go-ahead for the former National Security Advisor's tell-all book.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.